Can you guys hear me out there? All right, good.
Yes.
I'll kick it up. Okay,
Yes, I can hear you.
perfect.
Not hearing Lacey.
I did not hear Lacey, so. But I think we're 2 minutes after, so we'll cover a couple quick things here to kick off the August meeting for Central Roxborough. We have two quick things. The first one being minutes from the June meeting. We did not have a July meeting, so there won't be minutes from that to approve. The minutes were posted on the website. Does anybody have any questions or comments on those? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Chuck?
Yes.
All right. Second piece, just real quick, is open board positions. We have 3 open spots in District 3, 10, and 12. If anybody is interested in those, jump on our website. You can see a map there of where those are. We are an all-volunteer organization, so appreciate all the help from the team here, and we've been looking to fill these for a couple months now. So if you're interested, just reach out to info@crca.us or any of the board members here. Our contact info is posted on the website as well. Look forward to hearing from people if you're interested. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Celeste. Are you introducing?
I am, yeah. Good
Okay.
evening. Good evening, everyone. Tonight's main item on the agenda is 6174 Ridge Avenue, an apartment building that is planned for that location. And unlike the reviews that everyone is accustomed to doing, this is what's known as a civic design review process. So this building will be by right. And because there will be more than 50 apartment units in the building, that triggers the City Planning Commission process known as a CDR, or Civic Design Review. And part of the CDR process is that the project first needs to be presented to the RCO. So that's why we're here tonight. We will not be expressing opposition or support as we do with variances, but this is open for comment. That is the purpose of this evening's meeting. The CDR meeting hearing itself, to my knowledge, is not yet scheduled, though maybe there will be news on that this evening. Eric Marshall is here from MGMT Residential to present. Good evening, Eric. And so he's going to be presenting this project, and we ask that you keep yourself on mute until he is done presenting. Then there are going to be a couple of members from the CRCA who will have some further comments, and also Michael Devine of the RDC, Roxborough Development Corporation, will speak. After that, please raise your virtual hand if you would like to speak. You can also let us know in the chat column that you want to speak. You can also comment there in chat if you want. We would like to hear you speak rather than writing it if possible. So that's our recommendation. And Mike Katra will be deciding who gets to speak next. I am not going to be here for this entire meeting, so that's why I'm turning that responsibility over to Mike. This meeting is being recorded, as you probably noticed when you logged on, so that the meeting can be available on our website later. That is part of the city recommended process. So that's it. I think, Eric, you can get started. Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation. If you'd like, I can share my screen and run through my PowerPoint. Great.
You should be able to do that.
Go. So this is, thank you again, Celeste. So this is the project. It's 6174 Ridge Avenue. That's a rendering of it. I'll run through it real quick just to give you the high level, and I'll get into some of the details about the project specifically. So running through it, what you see here is the existing site survey. It's comprised of 3 lots that are going to be consolidated into one. So you have a lot that is along Leverington Avenue, and then 2 lots on Ridge Avenue will be consolidated. There's a small parcel, which is the Thai restaurant that's currently there, that is not part of this project. So, which you'll see as we go further through the presentation. Some here are existing photos, just to run through it as far as, running from Leverington and coming all the way down. You have Barry Steaks, you have the closed JD McGillicuddy's, you skip the Thai restaurant, come around the corner, and then starting on Ridge Avenue, we'll have the Michael's Water Ice, Philly Gaines, then the post office, High Point Church, then the lobby entrance. There are residential apartments above the High Point and of the daycare. So then running over to the daycare and then the dollar store. So that's, a large chunk of that Ridge Avenue section. And again, this, Thai restaurant that's sitting here at this corner is not part of the consolidation or part of the project. Just to give kind of a order of magnitude scope, obviously this is the heart of, Roxborough. This is the main commercial corridor, just, blocks away from, one of the larger, mall centers that's over there with the Citizens Bank, Starbucks and whatnot. I have to say, this is a very exciting opportunity, I think, for Roxborough, and we are excited about this project because, Roxborough has changed a great deal, and we wanted to see it to move, in the direction it's been going and really growing at a great rate. And we really think that there's great opportunity here for, continued commercial and good residential living and housing as that's been taking place. But again, this is really focused along this Ridge Avenue area. So the proposed site is highlighted in the corner over here, just to, kind of give you across from the Dunkin' Donuts, the Sunoco diagonal to it. What we have here is a massing model, so it kind of gives you the context. I mean, it's immediately across the street from multifamily development, running up and down Ridge Avenue with its commercial stores as well. You have the municipal parking lot at the rear, followed by additional multifamily at the rear of that property as well. And then, of course, you have the municipal lot just behind this building that's over here, and then the large Dunkin' Donuts space adjacent to it. Here is a rendering model of it. There's a residential feel and context to it. We've had a preliminary meeting with the RCO zoning committee to kind of discuss some options, and we've started to incorporate some of the feedback that we've received. I know there's, we tried to add some Juliet balconies. You'll see is that there is some relief. So there'll be setbacks where the brick will stick out and then you'll come out to stucco and then it will be set back in. But then we add the Juliet balconies to give it a little bit more of this kind of alteration and changing along the facade, which carries along the side. Obviously, this is the most prominent side. And what you'd see here is this would all be first floor commercial space running up and down Ridge Avenue. Again, this area, you see the Bamboo, the Thai restaurant with offices above, that's to stay, so that's not part of it. So now this is on the other side. This is currently just, so everyone's aware, this is where the mural was that it currently exists inside the Pocket Park. So we, obviously need to speak with RDC and see some of our options, but just looking at it from a, pure, just, okay, development perspective, yes, there are apartments up along this, actually running up and down now this entire face or facade of this elevation facing in towards the Pocket Park. Definitely something that we need to discuss further and keep under consideration how this facade would look. But if the mural were not to remain, or whatever agreement we would be able to set, it's still apartments here, so it would need to be windows, there would need to be traditional residential things. This little commercial space, there was a change that was recently made to the project. While we were going the CDR process, we received additional comments from L&I, which necessitated some additional changes, which added apartments down to the first floor. This whole area along here still remains commercial. These are updated zoning plans, which again gives you, this is what's officially sent into LNI for a part of their review for issuance of the zoning permit. So again, this is a plan view to give you an idea, site context regarding it. And I'll just give you the high level of it. The new lot area would be 30,000 square feet roughly. It's an 82 unit residential apartment building comprised of a mixture of ones and twos, bedrooms that is. There would be space for 25 car parking as noted here. It's actually 19 spaces, but there's auto share parking that's a part of it. And then which would be like read something like Zipcar and things like that. Something where people that don't need cars every day, but do have access to the car so that they don't have to use an Uber or whatnot, something that they can use as a temporary, rental, which, eliminates the need for everyone to have a car, hopefully. Gross building area is just under 90,000 square feet. It has a green roof. It would have a stormwater basin as well. So to manage the entirety of it, you saw in the previous rendering with the massing model, it shows you all the green roof. So that's for any of the rain, stormwater retention. It kind of reduces the impact to the stormwater systems that exist. Coming through now, this is continuation. So now what you can see here, so going back actually up. So this is Ridge Avenue, give a little bit more detail because this plan is the most accurate to what you see. So this is Ridge Avenue, and then you're coming along to Leverington. The driveway entrance comes in off of Leverington and it brings you up to the surface parking. This is open courtyard area that you would have seen in the previous rendering. And then you have apartments along here, and then this is the commercial space running up here, and then it stacks apartments coming up above. This is the Ridge Avenue elevation that you already saw in rendering. And then we'll move on to, now this is the Leverington entrance where you see the driveway entrance coming in, and then a continuation of the elevations. And then this is the green roof that we were talking about that you could see. And then this is the parking area that you can't see. And then the driveway actually comes underneath the building and comes out into the courtyard. This is a rough blend of, how it lays out. Again, it's just, we have an idea of what it is, but of course this needs to be fine tuned as it goes through the design process. And here you are is giving you an idea of the elements that are being used and utilized inside the facade. So you have a mixture of cement siding, limestone block, stone, and then brick and stucco. So lots of different elements, more elements, have been added since we actually had the meeting with the zoning committee to kind of take this into consideration and add a lot more variety to the space. And then, this is the rear, like facing that municipal parking lot area. And then this is kind of running up and down. It's like this, what you see here is really here. And then this is, facing the Pocket Park side. But again, this elevation needs to change a bit because this will be apartments. It's showing it more as commercial. And that's essentially it. I mean, the rest of it is just standard documents that we require for CDR. But I think I'll turn it over to everybody else or to the RCO, and happy to hear your comments. And I'll keep sharing my screen. I imagine we're going to go back and forth through this.
Thank you, Mary. So thank you, Eric. I'm John Carpenter. I'm the president of CRCA, and I just wanted now to let folks know where we are in this conversation with the developer. As most people know, we have a zoning committee with technical experts that works with our board, and we have met on our own to review the first set of plans that came through, and then we met with Eric a few weeks ago to share some of our concerns about the project and give him the beginning of some constructive thoughts on how to make the project better. We do not still understand the guidance that we are operating under from the Department of License and Inspections. This project is a combination of several parcels with different zoning designations, and we have not yet gotten a clear understanding of the zoning rules that this project is operating under. So we're a little confused, as you may be by the time this is over as well. One of the things that came out of our conversation with Eric and the developer is an offer to continue to work with them over the next year or so as they do not intend to build this project immediately, to try to do more to improve the project that you see here today. But they are pursuing their zoning permit with the current designs. So public comment today has to be focused on the design that you see here, because we are going to carry your comments forward to the formal CDR with the city that will happen sometime later this summer or in the fall. And we'll come back and let you know what we hear from Ellen and I, if we get clear understanding of the true zoning here. But I encourage everyone to share their thoughts as we have already shared with the developer. But there were some more specific critiques, and I'd like to ask John Hunter now to share some of our observations on the project that came out of our conversation at the zoning committee level.
Thanks, John. I would just like to point out that these latest drawings that we're looking at that Eric has sort of walked us through, we only received yesterday. So some of the questions are questions because we don't quite understand the basis of it. But just some observations. Eric, obviously the critical thing in terms of the retail corridor is the zone along Ridge Avenue. Just so everybody knows, the requirement for commercially zoned properties, CMX, is that the first 30 feet of the property along the primary frontage should be commercial for the 100% of it. But you've got this tiny little corner space, which, if I understand it, the rest of the space is the 30 feet wide, and this one is nowhere near as 30 feet. Is that correct? There's no dimensions on the plans.
I'm sorry, you're talking, this is all the commercial along Ridge Avenue.
Right, but the upper section is 30 feet wide, but the corner section towards the Pocket Park is significantly less. Is that 30 feet, or is the other section 30 feet?
Well, this section would be, yeah, I mean, this is way greater than, 30 feet along here. Traditionally.
In depth. Is
Oh,
that,
in depth. Oh, running back this way. I see what you're saying. Well, this is the full depth. So what you see is here is the outline.
Why isn't the corner section 30 feet? And why is the circulation core, the elevators and the staircase within that 30 feet zone? They should be out of the 30 feet zone.
So traditionally, we would have, we originally, even based on comments we had originally, the residential entrance was located over here at this corner. So based off the feedback we received, we brought it, off that corner to maintain the commercial access. So it's really based off of that feedback. But otherwise, this is, the commercial area. I'm not entirely sure what the full dimension is here right now off the top of my head, but this is a pretty significant chunk of space coming back here. But yeah, this is the commercial here.
It looks like it's 20 feet by 20 feet. It's not significant. As you know, there's been a lot of focus on the development of the Pocket Park, connecting Ridge Avenue with the parking spaces behind, and RDC is, promoting a lot of usage of that Pocket Park. And I think it's unfortunate in your latest design, first of all, the commercial aspect is that 20 by 20, guessing it's 20 feet by 20 feet on the corner. And then you hand over the rest of the elevation towards the Pocket Park to be residential on the first floor, which is a loss, I think, for the Pocket Park activation, and also not the greatest use for your space for residential when it's going to be used by the public actively, hopefully, for in the future.
Yeah, I would look. I agree with you. I think the problem is that I believe the overlay restricts the commercial space to be 8,000 square feet. So that was part of the consideration. Originally, we did have, the first floor was really left to be commercial. That would be our preference. But as we went through this plan and had to make some corrections, which essentially was, to add the parking to the site. So just as a matter of clarification, when this project was originally filed, it did have parking on it. It's a mixed lot, use as far as CMX 2.5 and CMX 2. We filed this project as a CMX 2.5 project, and then we were told, no, it's CMX 2. And so you have to follow conform with the requirements of CMX2. So we removed the parking, and then we were told now it's a blend of CMX 2.5 and 2. So add the parking back. So again, this is something that came up within the last week and a half. So, I think you guys know this was a little bit, I wanted to make sure at the time of this meeting, I had something that represented exactly what the changes would be. So I'm still kind of going through it, but as part of the changes also was the comment for the overlay for commercial space that originally we had 17,000 square feet, which I thought would have been great, to match the overlay requirement of a MAC no greater than 8,000 square feet.
And is this following discussion with LNI, or is this just sort of, an immediate response to the way that they directed you?
The way they directed us, they told us this is a change that you need to make. I said, okay. I said, so I don't want to waste anyone's time presenting something that is, which would result in this. So, and that's why we made the changes to reflect this so that we would be ready for the meeting.
Because, I mean, as John Carpenter mentioned, maybe we're as confused as you are, that you've got a 38 feet height limit, but you're providing parking, which is a combination of CMX2 and CMX 2.5. It's not one or the other.
I agree, and we're working with LNI through this, and we got we still have to review this with them as well. So it's a little bit, but this essentially addresses the comment that they have, and this has to be reviewed finally by LNI, and we're in the process of it, and we're working, as quickly as possible to make sure that we're all on the same page. Again, it's kind of out of the ordinary to be in a CDR process and be at this point.
Well, again, I'm sure that Michael, if he talks a little later, will also sort of be disappointed that the facade facing, certainly at the first floor level, facing the pocket park, is proposed as residential rather than commercial, as I think he will suggest that it should be. Can we just go to the parking just to explain to people the discrepancy? I mean, you explained it, but just to sort of define it, that there are 19 parking spaces shown here, but it's credited with 25 because of the 2 shared spaces, as they're called. When they have shared spaces, they count as 4 parking spaces each. So you're providing 19, but you get the credit for 25 parking spaces.
Correct.
And I'm entirely dubious about this idea. I mean, Zipcar struggles along, and we've seen all over Roxborough and Manioc that Zipcar provides a service. They see how it commercially works out, and if it doesn't work out, they withdraw it. So in the long term, I'm pretty dubious, as others might be, about this actually working to the benefit of the residents. The other thing is, logically, you're now providing access for cars off Leverington, but it's a pretty dangerous exit and entrance from Leverington. It's almost blind coming across the sidewalk on Leverington. At the moment, it would appear to be. There's no viewing angles, and it seems, I don't know if again you discuss this with streets, but it does seem like a very dangerous intersection there.
Yeah, streets had, so again, when we originally filed, it was with the parking, and it was more or less at this location for the driveway. They had tentatively approved it then, but then we had since revised it to remove it. But yeah, I mean, this drawing, a little bit, last minute, but it does have the correct curb lines. I believe it's 24-foot curb cut, and then of course with the apron coming out, to create the clear view lines. And it's a relatively deep, walking and furnishing zone along that Leverington side. But it definitely, of course, it's reviewed by Streets Department to demonstrate all of the clear, viewing angles and whatnot to come in and off of Leverington.
Again, dealing with the pragmatic stuff a little bit, a little boring, but it's obviously going to be crucial. You've got the commercial on Ridge Avenue. How do you service those units or propose to service them, and trash removal and all of those things for those units, however many they are?
Yeah, I mean, I think ideally it's going to be I mean, it's not going to be, the best solution, but at the rear is, the karting and turf. That is primarily for the residential space. But we would ideally be able to utilize this space to be able to access in to bring, the trash out. I mean, it would be held within the building. We don't want it to anything to be left out, on the side. But again, I think it depends on the commercial tenant, the type of space that we have, that usually once we know what the tenant is, we're able to, be able to come up with a more robust plan in that regard. But the hope and expectation would be able to utilize this rear exit, bringing you to the driveway so we can bring it out. Because we have some projects where, the trash truck, when they do come, we're notified and then staff pull it out. So everything stays inside. And I know a big feedback from lots of meetings is nobody ever wants to see any trash sitting at the curb. They don't want stuff left out or over, rodents and whatnot will come through it. So we really try to make sure that we get this thing right out and wheeled out to the curb. They're picked up and then it's pulled away and this is brought inside. So really minimize dramatically any trash removal being left outside or any dumpsters being left outside. Because right now, I believe the complex has dumpsters roughly in this location. They're fenced in, but they're large dumpsters facing inside the parking lot. All of this would be contained. Nobody from the public view would be seeing this trash.
But I mean, that introduces one of my next questions, which is why have you not pursued accessing trash and servicing from the parking lot behind the building, rather than trying to service it from Leverington?
Oh, that's definitely, I think part of the discussions as we discuss is, speaking with the RDC, and the RDC has, has the municipal lot and has influence as far as what can and cannot be done. And definitely as we work together to, develop a plan that, really works for everybody. I mean, we would love to be able to do that. I know we've had conversations about kind of enhancing this rear yard and access to it if we're able to get additional commercial down here. I mean, these are definitely, the elements that, we would love to be able to incorporate and should be part of, the plans as we meet together to kind of refine this project.
But I think that introduces one of the problems, which is, this is the public meeting before the CDR. The CDR is really testing what your solution is. And if your solution is a lot more considerations and a lot more discussions, you go through the CDR, which is not mandatory. And once you've gone through it with a maximum of 2 appearances, you have a zoning permit and you have to have no further discussions with the community. Yeah, in other words, rather than coming with a lot of questions and discussions and maybes, and we're looking at it, surely the CDR process should be that you've already done that, you've gone through that, and you come to the public with your best guess at the way the scheme works, and then you go to the CDR for their final input. This isn't it, because, I mean, for instance, you don't even have a pocket park elevation yet. We don't know what it looks like on the pocket park.
You mean looking into it from like a rendering, you mean?
No, an elevation. You don't have an elevation. You have an elevation of Ridge, you have an elevation from Leverington, and you have an elevation, but you don't have the other elevation.
Well, I have an angle view that, kind of brings you in. But what I would say, so this is the pocket park.
Yeah, but I mean, for instance, on your plan, you have a 5-foot setback, and on your rendering, you don't have a 5-foot setback. And you have glazing all the way along what is a property line that, you can't do.
Right.
So, I mean, so in other words, there's a level of you're sort of guessing, you're winging it, you're not really finished. And
no, I wouldn't say that. I don't think that's fair. What I would say is that, I mean, yes, it would be a 5-foot setback. Yes, you see
right,
it
but
here.
your rendering doesn't show that.
Yeah, the rendering, as I discussed, with the notification that we received from LNI, we had to make some adjustments to do it. But essentially what you're looking at here would be what it is, with a slight indent at these locations, but then this would be residential now in lieu of commercial. Right, exactly. But this elevation would match. It's pretty much what you would see. It's just a question of it looking a little bit more set in. But what you see visually, that's what it would look like.
Okay, can you go back to the Leverington elevation on the other sheet, the other attachment? I can't figure for the life of me what's going on here, because on the elevation on Leverington, you have the floor level for the second floor, elevation 302, but on the other elevation around the corner, you have the floor level at elevation 307. And it's critical because you've got, well, first of all, let's go back to the Leverington elevation. You've got this sort of strange slot in the elevation, which has got that sloping piece in it. And it's between the parking with the two cars and the entrance into the site with the arch opening. Now, that piece that's in between those two doesn't exist. I don't know what that is, but I mean, that is a critical pinch point for access to the site, because if you zoom in, you'll see there's a dimension of 10 feet, and 10 feet is to, I think, the top of the arch, and it's an arch. So you've got two-way traffic there. So it isn't 10 feet. And
Yeah,
so,
it comes right here. Yeah.
right. So, but which is it? Is it elevation 302 or is it elevation 307? You've got two elevations on those two drawings.
I don't recall which one it is. It's hard to see it on this drawing. But the idea is that, yes, it's two-way car parking and it's with a 10-foot clearance, which of course is not going to actually be exactly 10 feet, coming through.
Exactly.
A lot of these parking lots are going to be, more closer to the 7 foot, plus mark,
But inside, you've got an accessible van space, which quite often is more than, it's certainly more than a normal SUV height. And unless they pick the very center of the arch and get it right, there's a problem there. But also, I mean, again, look at the roof plan and look at the space in between the two wings, where you have in plan the double slope dormers and the single slope dormers. But I mean, that has now been thinned down much more than it was previously. Are the apartments on one side or the other? You can't have both. It's not big enough to have apartments on both sides of the central circulation corridor.
May I interrupt for just a moment?
Who is that?
Because we have quite a number of people here who have things that they would like to ask the developer directly. John, can you do a quick summary of any other critiques that you might have and let Michael have a chance to talk so that we can give other folks some time as well?
No, I think it's they can move. I can move on to.
Thank you. So actually, if you're done, then Michael Devine, you had some things you wanted to say?
Sure, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's a bit crushing to see this new plan. I mean, what we looked at a few weeks ago, there was a lot more commercial space available, but now with the required parking, it just, I mean, literally cuts it into half. And one of some of the main goals we wanted to see was just sort of how this new construction would fit in on the main commercial corridor. And looking at the facade here, it's hard to imagine where any sort of signage would go for these businesses moving it. I don't even know where it would fit. It looks really sort of anonymous in terms of the spaces. And then another thing, then actually John brought this up about the one at the corner there, that commercial space there that's sort of on this image right in the front. It's sort of cut off by that entranceway. And I know that entranceway was put in there for other reasons back a few weeks ago, and the whole configuration has changed. But now it cuts off that area into 1,000 square foot area, I think, roughly. And really, I mean, you're not really going to get anything very interesting in that space other than like a nail salon again, or another like lawyer's office or real estate office. So it just cutting that piece there. I don't know if there's a way to move that entranceway, further north to expand that one commercial space there. And then some of the other goals from this project, we wanted to make sure that the pocket park was protected and the stormwater infrastructure there and the mural, all of that stuff, and I know we've talked about this, but we're in a public meeting here, so I wanted to be on record. There was a ton of public money put into the pocket park and that project from like the state, from the city, from all sorts of, entities. And, when we look at these renderings, it doesn't take into consideration what's there right now. It's just sort of like there's this plan for a building, and you see the pocket park without any of the landscaping on it. So it's like you can't even imagine what it could be. So I think whatever is in there, when you're designing this and perfecting it and making it better, you have to figure out how it's going to be integrated with the planting beds there. And, really like think of the pocket park as an extension of this and as an amenity for your, the tenants there, because I think it's, it's for the community and the tenants that are going to live there are going to really benefit. And you don't see any of that in this plan. It's just kind of like a blank, it's like a block stuck next to the pocket park. And, there's a couple other nitty gritty things. I was looking at the parking spaces. It looks like you come in on Leverington there and then it circles around, and it looks like there's a space there where it turns. And I'm not sure like if that's going to be like, there's going to be bollards there to sort of, or, because if you don't sort of shrink that turning thing into the parking lot, once you're in the building, it looks like cars might try and take advantage and park there, and it can kind of clog up the circulation over there. And then again, like just trying to figure out what kind of materials you'd use on the side of the pocket park that could be amenable to, putting a mural up there, like being able to partner with Philly's mural arts program. They would probably have some understanding of what kind of materials could be used that we can, once this thing is built, how we can then put some sort of mural back over there. It's tough following John Hunter. He's got a lot of points. I think he covered a lot of the things I said, I wanted to say. But yeah, I think, it's hard to swallow this plan, just thinking about what's going to happen to the pocket park and just really the shrinking of the commercial space. But that's kind of, what L&I has handed over at this point. So I'm not sure what alternatives there are. And also one more point about the 8,000 square foot limit on the overlay. From my understanding, that was the previous rules for the overlay. There's a limit of 8,000 square feet. With the new rules that just came in that were voted on a few weeks ago, I thought that was knocked out, and I don't know if
This project, I think this project is prior to that, but so
Right.
I think that's kind of where we get caught up in it.
so you have to adhere to the previous rules, even though
Right.
there's new. Okay, all right. I just wanted to bring that because I was.
What I would say for sure in regards to the pocket park, I mean, we would want to, we care a lot about this project, and that doesn't mean to say, and even though we're presenting this project and we're having conversations, I mean, we absolutely have to operate from the prism of let's make this right as we're doing it. So 100%, whatever the feedback is, the intention is to upgrade this and to present this, for CDR to incorporate what we talk about today. I mean, I agree. I love the mural. I know how long it took, to put together and put, and if we can agree on a some whatever surfacing that we would like to see on that elevation, and we can come to an understanding about what we want to do to add the artwork and make it, kind of mirror or better what is already there, I agree. I mean, that is a great resource for this building and for Roxborough, is this pocket park, adjacent to the brewery and a lot of foot traffic, and to keep those things going. So whatever we need to do to enhance that, I think would be, would be great. I mean, it is unfortunate that there are apartments on that first floor, but I think we can make something that works, that really maintains that, that park feel, that atmosphere that's there now with like you said, with the plantings and with the mural.
Yeah, I mean, one last point I would suggest, and I don't know, I know this has been rushed through, but when you're presenting this to the public and you sort of eliminate all the planting and the landscaping, the pocket park, and you show it to people, it just looks like you're erasing it, and it makes it a hard sell for you. So,
I'll talk to my render. He tries to eliminate so you can see the rendering, because sometimes I get people say there's a car there or there's a tree in the way I can't see, but yeah, you're right. To kind of really show what is the offering is there, we'll make sure it kind of reflects more what it does look like today.
Yeah, because I don't even know how our fencing leans up against this building. It doesn't even make sense, what we have there currently, the fencing that then just runs into like a window almost on the side of the building. And it's hard. It's almost just like you're planning just not within the context of the surroundings at all. So, but, I understand, I think we're going to have to work on this a lot more moving forward, obviously. And that's about it. That's all I got.
Thank you.
All right, I guess, John, are we good and turn this over to, I know Pam has had her hand up for a while here. I guess, do we want to start with Pam?
Do I have the go mic or no?
You do, Pam. Welcome.
All right, thank you. Pleasure. So to touch on what Mike Devine was saying, at least 2, possibly 3 rounds of state dollars came through my office, and I believe multiple rounds through my predecessor, Kathy Mandarino. So I want to understand, because those state dollars were allocated and awarded predicated upon that pocket park not being a, I mean, I'd have to go back and look to see when we cut that ribbon and when that mural went up. That was certainly never intended to be a short-term event. So I am very glad I'm here today. We'll work with the RDC to understand exactly how many state dollars are in this. I don't know about city dollars that may be in there, and to ensure that those taxpayer dollars are not lost. And that, in fact, if those dollars need to be replaced by the developer, they would have to be replaced, as far as I'm concerned, in today's money, not the money that was awarded in my time in office and during my predecessor's time in office. So I see the chat here. I share that concern. I've been there for every step of that pocket park, and never was it my understanding that this would be a limited time event in any way, shape, or form. So I'm not sure where lot lines are or boundaries, but I appreciate the community's work and effort that went into creating that sense of community that park has given the Roxborough, and particularly these neighborhoods. And, you know, am here to assist in understanding how those dollars need to be made whole, if not this preserved. And, you know, Eric, when you just made that comment about the first floor apartments that have to be there, at this point, if I'm understanding Mr. Hunter correctly, and I've worked with John for a long time, I'm not sure that, and Mr. Carpenter, I'm not sure anything has to be anywhere at this point. That is the whole point. So thank you for this opportunity to comment, and I will work with Michael Devine to pull records and understand costs.
All right, thank you. I mean, I know that's, I just wanted to add, we're definitely working with the RDC. We do, you know, love that mural as well. And we want to work to make sure that, you know, we put something there that, if not better than what's already there as part of this project. And I think we'll work very closely with Mike and the community to make sure that we do that.
I just want to make a really, really quick comment and a little bit of a caveat to that, Eric. I have an appreciation for what that artist rendered. So indicating that it is somehow a subpar piece of art and it will be quote unquote better. I choose words maybe a little differently, not to.
My apologies.
That's okay.
That's not the intent. The intent is,
I'm sure
it was more along the lines of you saying today's dollars, which was it will be as substantial as it is currently. Is that a better way of saying it? I didn't want you to think that you're like, we're going to cheap out and do something cheaper or something. That was the only reason I said that. So.
As long as I'm here, nobody will be cheaping out.
Yes, but that was the intent. No offense to the artist, I promise.
All right. Liz Robinson. I think you're still muted, Liz.
Mike, you want to recognize the next person, or shall I?
Mia Schiff and Floyd Glenn. I saw you guys had your hands up there too.
Yes. I want to say that Pam is reflecting my feelings about what's going on with this building, and that it certainly looks like we're going to lose our pocket park. And indeed, as she said, that was public money, lots of public money for many, many years to work on that park, including the mural. And I also want to second the fact that this idea that the building has to have apartments on the first floor is not true. It has to have apartments on the first floor if the developer wants to make the most money. But we live here and this is our community. And that park has really enhanced that area of Ridge Avenue. The other question I have is, what is going to happen to our post office? I use it all the time. It's used by many people. And this building is going to take away the place where the trucks come to unload the mail. I don't see a place for the post office to be slotted into this building. And that is very worrisome to me. There's already been a huge attack on our postal system. And I do not want to see that we are losing this office. We've already virtually lost the one down on Main Street in Manayunk. Can you tell us what plans there are for the post office?
No, I definitely appreciate, the importance of the post office. I do know, I only know so much that they tell us, but they are looking for a location in Roxborough. And, they actually have been looking for quite some time. The leases that they had were long-term leases. They actually stopped about 10 years ago, I believe. And they started doing the short-term leases because they were looking for a new location. So it's, I don't know if necessarily, if this project was happening or they were going to move out, it was coming to a point where they were going to make a change, or at least they were indicating it as such, as far as their lease renewals were going. But they are actively looking in the Roxborough area for spaces.
All right. And the other question I ask is, what happens to businesses like Michael's Water Ice? Has anyone spoken to him?
I believe, Scott's aware of the project. Yes, so I've spoken.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And the people have already mentioned that the parking situation is already quite a problem, quite a challenge in Roxborough. So it is worrisome to see so many units in so few spaces. Thank you.
Thank you. Doris Myers. Doris, you're still muted if you're speaking.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, I have a big concern about another building going up in Roxborough with tons of apartments. They're building where the Adobe Cafe is, that's on Mitchell Street. And then right above that, they want to put 50 or more apartments. They are putting 50 apartments behind my row home in the middle of a block, 5542 Ridge Avenue. This is horrendous. We have too many apartments now. People want their cars, they need their cars. And I just don't know where this is going to end. We can't get a hold of Nate Torok, who is the problem. He won't talk to us. We've been fighting this since March of 2020, I think. And we're getting nowhere. And they're digging, our houses are shaking because of the digging. That's all I want. Yes.
I understand that project is not making the neighbors there happy, but this conversation is very specifically focused on this project at 6174 Ridge.
But
So
how many more projects are they going to put in Roxborough? We're having tons of accidents up on Henry Avenue. People are driving crazy. All these new people coming in. I don't know who they are. This is outrageous. We don't need this. And where is our post office going to be?
As far as the post office, I'm not sure where they're relocating, but I know that they're looking in the Roxborough area.
Yeah, okay. I think Liz Robinson wants to say something. She has her physical hand up.
Are you unmuted now, Liz?
You're muted. Yeah, now she is.
Thanks. So I just want to kind of characterize, you've heard the concerns of the neighbors. The building that you are proposing is replacing several really important community service and amenities that are essential to the quality of life in the neighborhood. The post office is central, and this wonderful pocket park that is relatively new, but a huge improvement over what was there. So you're tearing both of those out, and you're sticking in, to be very frank, a very unattractive building. There's nothing nice about this building. It's just a big, another very large, imposing apartment block that has a few, little touches that try to, soften the block look. But you have to recognize that this is not, this is a step down. This is a degradation for the neighborhood. It's going in the wrong direction. And this is replacing public services and amenities with something that's simply going to build someone's private wealth. So there is something you could do, this project could do, to retain both the post office. You could redesign this to accommodate a post office and retain this wonderful pocket park and the mural. So it might mean shaving your profit a tiny bit, but that's the kind of thing that the neighborhood needs from a developer who is a good partner in the neighborhood. So I have a couple of other related questions. These are related to sustainability. I don't see any accommodation for electric vehicle parking. And frankly, I agree with whoever made the comment about the pretense around zip cars. I think that's a thing of the past. So I think that's just a little bit of parking washing or green, whatever you want to call it. I think that's just a little bit of pretense there. So does this have EV charging stations either in the building or outside the building?
Yeah, there are 2 EV stations right here.
All right, and you have 19 parking places and
Correct.
2 EV charging stations. Would you consider making it 19? Because in the next few years, all internal combustion engines should be replaced.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that generally, I mean, this is going down the road, but generally speaking, for the service equipment that's delivered for these buildings, most of these buildings are usually all electric. We do try to anticipate, and part of the reason they're all electric actually is that if the grid ever does change and we do get clean energy, we won't have any fossil fuels in this complex. It would be ready to receive clean renewable energy if possible. As far as adding stations, I guess what I'm getting at is that, the service equipment and sizing for the house panel is more than sufficient to kind of take into account that kind of future requirement. As of now, yes, two of these stations, but if there was a demand for more, absolutely we put it in. It's not as if we would have to start all over again or upgrade our service. This is done with the intention and hope that, sure, if everything became electric, we would be able to, accommodate something of that nature. I don't know if it would be all 19 spots, but I know it would be pretty close. It would definitely be more than 2 that would be able to take up a good chunk of this. And even if you needed to upgrade service, it's not a big deal. It's definitely worth the cost. And it's really people who, drive and demand that. I'd say, unfortunately, there are the buildings that have parking, and I don't think we have any EV parkers yet, but we would love for that moment to come. I'm with you. I think the wave is coming, but I think the short answer is yes, we have the service to be able to add more if the demand requires it.
Okay, and related to that is you've got here a design with a green roof. Would you consider changing that to a solar roof so that it's a much better economically, it's going to be a much better decision for you, a much better investment. And it's a lot
The
more
problem with
important.
the solar, with the green roofs, and I think maybe the water department may start to catch up with it or start to update what they're doing. But a lot of the stormwater management, when you disturb, this amount of square footage, so greater than 15,000 square feet, you enter the stormwater management plan and whatnot. And the green roof so it's not just a green roof that's here. There's actually a stormwater retention basin that is located beneath the parking area. So this is to manage all the stormwater. Obviously, the green roof has multiple benefits besides just the green roof. It's added insulation. It absorbs all of that water. You don't have any water going into, the stormwater system. But, so these are elements that we put, but the coverage of the stormwater that needs to be managed needs to be that entire area, essentially. That's why the basin's added as well. So it actually would counteract the requirements of a water department stormwater management. So if they were able to come up with something that would work with,
Rainwater harvesting, on-site rainwater harvesting
Mhm.
will meet the water department's requirements. And that doesn't take up any space at all, essentially. So it's just a matter of pitching the roof correctly and building that plumbing into the building.
This is different than that, though. This is
I
stormwater
understand.
management.
Yeah, I understand, but I think what I'm trying to say is that a green roof, I would just encourage you to look at other options that are that will meet the water department's requirements and that are more valuable to the environment than a green roof. And my final question is affordable housing, affordable units. Are you still there?
I'm here.
Does this complex have any affordable housing units?
It does not. It's market rate.
It does not. And why is that?
It's designed as a market rate complex.
Would you consider adding affordable units?
This has gone through the zoning phase, so this is not, up for, affordable, but the short answer is no, it's market rate housing, but it's also, the market rate housing is also not, egregious in cost. So I think it's, they're simple units, they're good, well-built, well-constructed units at a fair price. It's not, luxury housing pricing or anything like that.
Yeah, I guess we would look at it as there's another amenity in the sense of who are all the workers who wait the tables that all these people with all this money have to be taken care of. And then there's all these health workers. At some point, we need housing, and we need housing for seniors. Some of the people that, like, I think Doris are talking about, there's a lot of us that are long-term residents, and working class was where this place started. So it's really interesting to me that you have public dollars that we've spent, our tax dollars are in this deal. And yet we can't get something like that, which would really be an asset to this community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emily Nichols, I see you're up next here.
Yeah, I guess I want to basically endorse everything Liz was talking about, but I just want to make a short but very general statement about, and which is also wrapped in a question. And has the planning department of Philadelphia decided to completely erase the character of Roxborough? Does anybody know the answer to that? Did they make a decision to completely take away what is special and unique about Roxborough?
I agree with that.
No, does anyone know? That's a real question. Does anyone know if the planning department made a decision to do that?
The zoning board is not stopping anything.
I don't think this is the forum, guys, that we want to get into that debate here with Eric, unfortunately.
Well, because
and I recognize, Emily, the question on the table here. It's something that we've discussed at length before, and there's numerous things that we've already done and are continuing to do to work with the Planning Commission. But, I don't want to take away from Eric here in this project and get distracted here. I think we need to stay focused on questions about Eric's project.
right, but we're talking specifically about this project, but do we have any sense of what the big picture is? Because I look at this project and I think this is a step, a giant step away from the community that I have known. And so, and does it matter at all? Does anyone care if Roxborough is going to be completely obliterated? That's, you should cut the number of units in half and make it more spacious. That's a crowded, busy area. To put that many units and cars and blah, 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 blah. The only goal in that is to have money, is to make money, 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 money. There is nothing in this plan that's about the quality of life, the livability of Roxborough, and maintaining any sense of the space and livability of this community. And the Pocket Park was a beautiful, beautiful example of finally getting something right in terms of how we can develop this community. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll mute myself now. Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Emily. Margaret Ann?
Yeah, thank you. I have some just general comments on this, the process and the development itself. So you're required to come to the community to show what you intend to build. And yet what you've shown us is not necessarily what you're going to build. It's kind of on the way to maybe being what you're going to build. So we have no actual good idea of what's going to happen. Also, you put together a project that doesn't attempt in any way to make good corridor connections between the parking lot and Ridge Avenue, because of course, on the Pocket Park side, you now are going to have apartments, and you have people whose windows are going to be looking over the events of the Pocket Park, which they may or may not be happy with. But then on the back side, you don't even bother to carry through the facades. You put the hardy board on the back side as though it's like, okay, now we can get away with this, instead of trying to make this at least three-sided building that is accessible and part of a community area that people can shop, congregate, enjoy, and be a real flagship and linchpin to this community and to our business corridor. So everything that I see here is just, as other people have mentioned, is just as much development as possible. You've given no special egress space to the Pocket Park as a nod or a gesture to the community that you care about the Pocket Park. You built right up to the property line, so there's no breadth there so that the Pocket Park can maintain its integrity. The way you have things coming in off of Leverington, you talked about, well, the trash trucks will be able to come in. Well, whatever other commercial businesses are here on Ridge Avenue, most of what deliveries are going to happen are probably not going to come around. They're going to sit on Ridge Avenue and do their deliveries, just like they do across the street, which has caused a lot of problems for traffic, for pedestrians, and for the whole flow of the feel of this business district, which we have spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to make it more walkable, how to make it more visitor friendly, how to make it more community friendly. And this design, in its unfortunately early stages, and I still don't understand why it's being rushed through us so quickly, even though we don't have a vote on it, so that you can take it, to where you need to take it so you can get your permit. We don't have any way of having a good connection to this project. 82 units is probably too many. Most of them are one bedrooms. If we're looking for a diverse community, one bedroom apartments are for one or two people. What about people who have a kid or two? We want people, we want families in our communities. We want a good mix of whatever we can, whatever we can get. And most of the apartment buildings that are coming up here are 3/4 1-bedrooms and 1/4 2-bedroom units, maybe studios here and there also. It's not an equitable enough mix. And I think that you need to really either maybe start having a conversation with the community about how can we make this our linchpin? How can we make this your flagship development in our community that the community is going to be really able to use, and into the future, take it and be able to say to other developers, this is the kind of stuff we want to see. At this point, I would not want to say to anybody that we want to see this. And again, not to harp on anything too much, but that pocket park is extremely important. And this design shows that it has absolutely no concern or consideration for the feel of it, the use of it, or the long-term survivability of it. Thank you.
I just like to say that, I mean, for sure, I understand, and and very clear to me, this pocket park is important, and the mural is important. We find it important as well. I don't want you to think that this is being glossed over, and I know I mentioned it at the beginning, and and it's been reiterated. I think this is the point of this forum, right? It's that again, there are tweaks that we're making, that we're talking about. I mean, essentially, this is the design that it is here, but we come to this meeting to really get this feedback. I understand that accessibility from to the pocket park for the commercial space is important. I know Mike at the RDC had mentioned it, you had mentioned it, and these are things that we want to take into account and and work with our plans to further this now. I'm not talking about a year or two from now as we're doing this project. And I think that's why we come here to talk about this stuff. So I'll definitely talk about it with our design team and look at options for that. And like I said, I got it. Pocket park is important, and we want to do everything to maintain its importance, and that will be a big consideration as we walk through this project.
I would ask one last question, then I'll shut up. When you come to a better or a more final design before you go on to the next stage, will you come back and show us your final design so that we have an opportunity to see what you actually do intend to build here? Because we really can't tell from this what you're going to build.
Yeah, I'd say that, we've been working with the RCO, and, as we, work through this, we'll provide it. But, the CDR meeting that is held with city planning is a public meeting, just like this one. And feedback is incorporated from that one. And, we can do, there are further comments that can take place at that time too. So it is, it's an ongoing evolving process. And I think the reason they do that is we speak with the community, and then everybody, participates at the following meeting as well. So it is an ongoing process that continually, takes in, critiques and feedback and adjustments that are made to the plan to best incorporate what makes sense for the project. So it's, long story short, yes, there are more opportunities besides this meeting tonight to talk about it.
Thanks, Eric. John, I guess, do you want to go? See anybody else up?
I guess I'd like to say two things. One is to the group as well as to Eric. At our zoning committee meeting, we did suggest to Eric and the developer that if there were elements of the zoning code that prevented them from doing a better design, but that could be addressed through a variance, we would like the opportunity to talk about that. So you discussed, for example, the 8,000 square foot limit on the commercial space, but already that we've lifted that in the revised overlay, and that we would probably be willing to support a change for you for this project to encourage a more vibrant and usable commercial space on the first floor of this building, but you have not asked us for that yet. So I think we remain receptive and open to the possibilities that might even trigger a variance in order to get a better project. We welcome that conversation as soon as you guys are capable of having it.
Mhm.
And the other thing so maybe you could respond to that first, and then I have one more thing I want to
Oh,
say.
yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, this is, again, we're moving through this and making adjustments to the plan, and there are more adjustments that need to be made. I have to finalize the CDR packet to send over to city planning, which, I hope to do next week. And I definitely want to, be in touch and talk about, some of these elements as well.
Thank you. Do you know yet when the CDR hearing is at the city level?
No. I still have to submit to them the final packet. I've given them the draft packet. Once that takes place, I mean, the soonest would be the September meeting. But from my experience, that they fill up pretty quickly. So I would imagine October would be the next meeting, but if possible September.
Okay, so just for our members and folks from the community here, the formal CDR process at the city is also a public meeting, and they encourage public participation and public comment in that process. And I believe they are still being conducted by Zoom. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you don't even have to leave the comfort of your own home to participate. So we will publish the dates of that CDR when we have it, and encourage folks to participate there. And we look forward to any further conversation that Eric and his team are willing to have with us prior to that time to advance a more thoughtful and responsive project on this important site.
Thank you, John. I see next up, Kay, if you want to go, unmute yourself.
Had to find the microphone, sorry.
No problem.
I would also like to add this one point to the discussion. I think, Eric, what you're seeing is also reaction to the visual impact of the changes. There's the scale, there's the cars, but there's also the very not particularly sensitive sense of design that I really think it scares people when they look up and down Ridge Avenue and they see what's happening visually to a town that they like a lot. So I'm not even talking density. I'm not talking any of that other stuff. I'm just talking about what a lot of these buildings are looking like. I think there's a way, if you look in Roxborough, we have at the corner of Fairthorn and Ridge, the Fairthorn, we have two properties behind Kendrick. One is a renovated one, but another one is new construction. They are all affordable housing for seniors, okay, built by Interact. And you know that HUD and the various funding agencies do not give extra for design. So it can be done simply, and we would have a community that we felt good about. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. I see Molly, you have your hand up. You want to unmute and speak?
Hi, it's actually Nancy, and just I wanted to reaffirm what Pam and Margaret have both said about this project. Seeing this and even hearing about it beforehand, just is disappointing. It really makes your heart sink with all this and how it's affecting and changing the neighborhood. I'm a neighbor who is within a 2-block range of this project, and this will affect me and my family because the project across the street from it, the apartments that were put there a couple of years ago above the businesses, are affecting the parking already. And there's people who live there who are parking in Planet Hollywood, they park on our street, Planet Fitness, and on our street. And that creates another issue, and we might even have to go to permit parking. I mean, this is just out of control. And then 82 units and only 20% parking to those units, and the fact that they're single units and not, multifamily. So this is really disappointing. It's another disappointing project in Roxborough.
All right, is there anybody else? I don't see any other hands up. All right, I'll take that as none. I appreciate everybody's comments here and speaking out, and Eric, your time as well. I guess, John, is there anything else we need from Eric here, or we can release him from the meeting? I think you're still muted, John.
I am, of course. I think that we are done. Eric, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us tonight to share your project, and we hope that we can work with you to address many of the comments and concerns that you heard here tonight before this project goes all the way through to completion.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
All right, moving to the next topic. I guess, is there any new business that anybody wants to bring up? All right, I'll take that as none. That's all we had on.
I'm sorry, I would like to just ask, what in the world can we do to stop this onslaught of rampant development? It's just, you know, it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Let me try to address that a little bit if I could. Mike, do you mind? So CRCA has joined with Roxborough Development Corporation and several of the civics that represent sections of Ridge Avenue. This spring, we worked with the councilman and the City Planning Commission to tighten down some of the elements of the commercial overlay that affects Ridge Avenue, to extend the borders of that, to increase parking requirements and lower height allowances. We probably were more aggressive than we needed to be in the first round of that to try to just get a handle on the projects that are going up here so quickly. We are now, this summer and into the fall, we'll be working together again with the City Planning Commission and the Councilman's office to put some more nuance and refinement into the overlay and to try to address sort of block by block or section by section the unique character of each piece of Ridge Avenue and try to tailor the overlay to more effectively support development without allowing it to go wild as it has in the last couple of years. So that process is ongoing. It's kind of a quiet process publicly because it involves a lot of technical conversation between the civics and the city, but we will try to report out periodically to you as a group what's happening. And if there is an opportunity for public comment during this process, we'll make sure that everyone in our reach is given that opportunity to speak before it becomes public. Okay? Or permanent, rather.
Sorry, just one follow-up. Given that the development is proceeding apace at such a rapid pace, and beginning to really tear things apart, is there any way to informally get the councilman and the planning commission to drag their feet? Bureaucrats, I mean, no offense to Pam, but bureaucrats are excellent at dragging their feet. It's one of the things that they can do really well. I know there's no chance of a moratorium, but is there a way to just get them to slow down so we don't have this marauding condition? It's just it's really hard to take.
The city is responding to permit applications as they come in from developers who are identifying opportunities that they can either build by right or sometimes by variance. I don't think the city can slow it down, but I will say I think the city was very responsive to our request collectively as the civic organizations in Roxborough when we sought some significant limitations in the conservation, the commercial overlay that affected Ridge Avenue. And that overlay was revised and passed before council went into recess in June. So there was some fairly quick action taken to throw some water on this fire this summer. And I fear, honestly, that we may have thrown more water than we need. And so the goal of the next few months is to refine that to make it a lot more careful and thoughtful so that we get the development that we want in a thoughtful and responsive way. And but I don't think it's helpful to suggest that the bureaucrats of the city somehow informally intervene in a process that they are responsible to manage professionally. I'm sorry.
John, I was going to turn to you anyway, so I was stuck on you. I guess, Marianne, I see you raised your hand there in the meantime. You have something?
I did, and I just have two comments. One, I'm amazed that everybody just wants to live here, and it just gives a testament to us as a person in Roxborough that everyone wants to be one of us. So I love that aspect of this, but the other aspect that I have a really hard problem with is who is dealing with our infrastructure, because our roads are not capable of handling the amount of apartments and transit that is coming into this town. And egress 5 years ago was hard. We only have Green Lane and Main Street and Ridge Avenue. We don't have a lot of places to get in and out of this town. And that's where my main concern is. You can build this up, everyone can move here, but we have to be able to figure out the infrastructure to get people in and out of here. And that's not being addressed. That's my concern.
Marianne, Mike Devine might have something to say about that.
I would love to hear it.
Hi, sorry, I just had to unmute. Yeah, I mean, we've been having meetings and we had discussions with Otis, the Office of Transportation, Infrastructure and Sustainability, about that specific project or problem. And obviously, yeah, the development is progressing much faster than the infrastructure is able to handle. So we're looking into applying for some grants to get some studies done on, that will be able to give us some data. Then hopefully we'll be able to apply for some more grants to get some sort of implement some sort of projects. But that being said, these aren't quick fixes, but it's definitely something that's on our radar that we're trying to look into and get some attention to. I wish I had a better answer that could, say that we would have it fixed next year, but it's not something that'll be fixed right away. But I think the civics and ourselves at RDC, we're trying to put the wheels to the road on and figure it out.
So I totally understand that. And as a work at home person that very rarely travels, and I'm sure that a lot of people in Roxborough feel my pain, like just having to go to the grocery store and being 20 minutes to something that I could walk to in 5 because I can't carry my groceries home. Like that's a big deal. And I'm just concerned that we're focusing more on what the facade looks like and how many units and everything else, but we're not dealing with the fact that our roads are not capable of handling these people moving into this area. And I love that they want to move here. I love this town and I never want to leave, but the traffic issues and I totally hear what you're saying about, you're going to do the research, but I'm thinking that's 20 years down the road. And in 20 years, we're going to have thousands more of these projects. How much worse is it going to get before we deal with the road situation?
Well, I'm open to ideas if you got any. I think we're all open.
I got none.
I mean, the other thing I think of sometimes is if having, when you talk about a walkable neighborhood, it's if you have the right amenities near you, you won't have to hop in the car. So if you have, you know, a grocery within 5 to 10 minute walk from you, if you have other services that close to you, and that's going to require more of these commercial spaces to be within walking distance of all these places. So I think it's a combination of having the right commercial businesses condensed in an area and improving the infrastructure. You know, both of which, again, they're not quick fixes, but you know, we're working on it.
Agreed. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the input there. I see Esther, you have your hand up as well. You want to unmute?
Hi, obviously there's multiple concerns about the congestion with the developments. One of the concerns that I haven't heard about being addressed is the impact of the actual construction on the homes that are near to these major construction sites. And I don't know who would be addressing that, but it definitely is something that needs to happen, because we on Mitchell and on Markle and Seville are having firsthand experience with that, with this massive project that's going up. Our homes are significantly being impacted when the bottles in your refrigerator are rattling when they're doing the construction. That tells you something good is not happening to these 100-year-old homes. All right. I'm sure our situation is not unique, but what is the cost and the impact of this construction on the existing homes? Certainly the transportation issues, but I'm thinking about sewers and pipes in our homes and that kind of, is that discussed anywhere? Is that an issue that's been brought up?
I know I would say L&I, obviously, if there's issues on a work site would be involved, right, Esther? But I understand your concerns for the surrounding area as well, right?
Right. I mean, our situation, I'm sure, is not unique. I mean, all the houses along those two streets, our situation is not unique. But of course, it's a concern. So L&I who is the person to negotiate with L&I about the safety of the existing structures? It's another way that Roxborough is being impacted and ruined by ruining the houses that exist.
Yeah, and I think if we have future discussions there, we'll keep that in mind to address as well.
Yep.
Aaron, you've had your hand up for a minute.
Yeah, first I'd like to thank everybody for staying on to answer and address questions. So mine has to do with the post office again. If this project does go forward, can we make it contingent that they can't start building until the post office has relocated? Because I feel like that's an essential part of our civilized community, is to be able to communicate with the outside world.
Civilized.
Agreed. This project could accommodate a post office.
I mean, I know Eric referenced that there was a lease involved there as well, right? So.
Well, he can offer a lease to the post office.
He could, although he would still have to tear down the building, so there would be no post office during construction, right? There would have to be some sort of temporary or something that spans that gap. Obviously, this building's not going to pop up overnight here.
Eric has told us that he does not plan on beginning construction for at least another year. And the post office is looking for a new location today. So there's a fairly good chance that we will see the post office relocate before construction begins, I would think.
I think Aaron's point is very well taken. Which is,
I could just tell you that the East Falls Post Office got whacked last August with Tropical Storm Ida. It remains closed to today. And the heartburn that has caused constituents in East Falls. Our office hears regularly. We've interfaced with the congressional office, et cetera, et cetera. So a little bit, it's the landlord of that building, et cetera. But the disruption of the post office, I could tell you from that East Falls location on Ridge Avenue has been significant. Those people have been coming up both to Manayunk and to Ridge Avenue. That doesn't look like it's going to be resolved anytime soon. We keep getting deadlines, we keep getting disappointments. So I think the community's right. That particular event looms large.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any recourse with the current Postmaster General. I don't think there's any, his whole plan seems to be to slash cost and just, eliminate things. So I don't see any hope that the post office will get its act together and sign a lease in the next year.
At least encouraging to hear that they have a year and that they are working on it. I think it's, hopefully they can find something. I know there are some commercial spaces available, so hopefully not another nail salon in the meantime, right? All right, is there anyone else? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate everyone's input tonight and hope you have a great night.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you a
Thank you,
lot.
everybody.
Bye.
Good night.